Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have your bonus weekly live reaction replay video featuring the Tier 10 Italian resource ship, the Lauria. The Lauria is definitely a ship, I'll say. It was very interesting when this ship was announced because for quite some time Wargaming simply refused to add in any Italian battleships with guns larger than 15 inches. Why? Because of everyone's favorite perfectly balanced munition, SAP, semi-armor piercing. Those shells are, they were pretty nuts when the Italian cruisers were launched with them. I mean, if you go back to that season of clan battles right after the Venezia was released, oh my god, the Venezia, before they nerfed her, you could chunk most, well, I was going to say most battleships, but really most of anything for a solid 20,000 plus damage in a single salvo with cruiser caliber guns. Let alone with, what we were all thinking that it might be when they would finally add in, SAP shells for battleships. And, fast forward a couple of years, and they did eventually with the Italian battleships. But, again, they were all capped at 15 inches. Because, I mean, even with the terrible dispersion that you would get on most Italian battleships, you could still easily chunk most enemy ships to like 20k every other salvo. Now, of course, with the Colombo, with the unique upgrade, it's no problem to chunk them for like 25, 26k every salvo. But we're getting kept at cap there for some time. Fast forward a little bit more. Ooh, nice salvo there on the hull. Fast forward a little bit more, and we finally got the Lauria, one of the two ships in game that have SAP guns bigger than 15 inches. The other one is the Marco Polo, who has 16-inch guns, and the Lauria here, who has 18-inch guns. That is right, if you are not aware, the Lauria has 457mm guns with SAP shells. And pretty decent reload time, and pretty decent accuracy, unlike most of the other Italian ships in game. Now, balanced by the fact that, while it is much more accurate, I mean, he just hit a hole from 17 kilometers twice. While it is much more accurate than, obviously, the, like the run-of-the-mill Italian Techline ships, it's still not quite as accurate as something like, of course, the Thunderer. But with 18-inch shells, speaking of 18-inch shells, that Vermont salvo missed quite comfortably there. But with 18-inch shells with SAP, you really only need to hit like one or two to be doing well. Let's observe here on the Libertad. And donk donk. Okay, one shell there for 5,000 damage. So yeah, you hit two shells on a ship, you're doing 10k easy with the SAP shells of this caliber. Let alone when you manage to, drill all 8 shells into the side of your enemies. So that was pretty nuts. What's also cool about the Lauria is that she is a battle cruiser, so she's quite fast and agile for her size. And you can see our hero of today's video, Flappy Waffle 69, beautiful name, is running brisk to make this battle cruiser even faster. Now, she does not get the exhaust smoke that you get with the Colombo, well, I should say with the Colombo line, so that's kind of the trade-off there. You get more of like, a battle cruiser experience with no exhaust smoke. She still does have 32mm extremities as well, so you're not like the British or the German battle cruisers where you are, trading off the armor for your speed. So, very lovely ship, if I do say so myself. And speaking of lovely ships, there's a Thunderer there who manages to avoid punishment, which is also a ship that, again, 457mm guns, but much more accurate than the Lauria's. And, of course, she has the HE as well. But speaking of Italians, Colombo there spotted fairly broad, so I don't think Waffle's going to get his guns around in time. Now, the Lauria's guns, if you haven't seen, I don't know why they put enough space in between them to where you could easily park like an 18-wheeler, but that is something that does lead to some of the wonky salvos. The guns aren't too close to each other, so the shells, they're already coming out of the barrels fairly apart from one another, so then you add a dispersion and such, and yeah, you get some pretty wonky salvos there. At least that's what it feels like, right, with all these double-barreled turrets, right? But let's see, he took a shot out here at, what was it, the Castilla, the Libertad, the Zao? I got one hit there, way out at, like, what? He had to pop a spotter plane for that, so 20 plus kilometers. So, situation. Looks like the enemy team has gone fairly heavy up in the northeast. Friendly team has gone heavy down south. Looks like Waffle's heading down south to help bully this Thunder. He had AP loaded there, which is an interesting choice. Typically, in your Italian battleship, still chunked it for like 7, almost 8,000 damage. Obviously, would have been a lot better with SAP. I think he had it loaded up for some of the broadsides he's expecting to see up here in the northeast. But anyway, with most Italian ships, you just keep SAP loaded because it has a higher alpha damage than the AP shells. So, unless you are like assuredly going to get a Citadel from your salvo, just keep SAP loaded because you're going to do more damage this way. This should be a dead Thunderer here, and it is. But yeah, because, with AP does, Citadel damage, right? So, that Citadel damage, you can't recover, but a small percentage of that, usually depending upon, what ship you're applying the damage to. So, yeah, just keep the SAP loaded. You'll be just fine. All right, Kleber from 14 kilometers. Let's see what he manages to do here. Probably going to nick him there. Now, of course, with SAP, naturally, destroyers get a bit of a pass with it when it comes to battleship caliber SAP. I believe it's if the gun is of a caliber of 280 millimeters and above. It's the same, damage ratio as you'll find with like the HE damage ratio on battleship shells versus destroyers. It only does a small percentage of it. Castilla though in the cross sights. There we go. Beautiful. 3 shells for 16,000 damage. So yeah, that's under half of the shells that he has on the ship hitting the Castilla. But yeah, so destroyers, you still can absolutely clobber them out of the game, although if you do manage to hit them with 8 457mm shells, it's still going to do a bit of damage like if you would to hit them with, again, any other 8 457mm shells. Speaking of 457mm shells, Vermont, lots of juicy superstructure there. Boom, 5 shells for what was that? He was at 51,000, he's at 68,000, 69,000 now, so 18,000-ish damage. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, Vermont and those battleships, those are what Italian ships love to see, right? With all that superstructure, all that 32mm of armor all over the place. That is like a nice big plate of pasta there for them, and the Italians love seeing that. Speaking of the Italians, back at the Colombo over here. So he's in a pretty good spot right here. He's in the position to where he can catch these broadsides coming out from around the sea cap. He's also, oriented in such a way that he can continue to kite out from this big heavy push that's coming down south. You can see, what is that? Is that a Gearing? No, that's the Austin. That's the Austin farming. I'm like, no, there's no way the Gearing's farming him from that far away. But the Austin's having a party over here too, farming down this Colombo. Shots out of the Zal. Looks like these shots were a little bit too short, so yeah, gives up on trying to see where they go. Colombo is still pushing hard down south on the Vermont, the Libertad, and the Castilla. A rare, aggressive enemy team. So often, okay, Gearing and Holland are just in a pure fist fight over there. The Gearing should win that fight, unless he's just, yeah, no, he's winning. There you go. Should have won it with a little bit more health left than that, but again, we weren't there for the full fight. But anyway. Yeah, so rare aggressiveness here from the enemy team. So often nowadays, the two teams, they'll spawn and they'll see each other, and then they just go, oh, and they run away, right? They run away back to the back of the map, and then you have to deal with that for the rest of the game. And that's very frustrating. Looks like Waffle here has a pretty good match going for him so far. So the Vermont's cutting through the sea cap into the waiting arms of the Trump, the Brennus, the Zal, and the Kremlin. Sap out on the Vermont again, ship that you love to see in the Italian battleship. Oh, this should be good. Boom, 19,000 damage. Love to see it. To mostly the superstructure of the Vermont, and probably the quite saturated superstructure of the Vermont already. Ooh, but Vermont returns the favor by taking out the friendly Brennus. Friendly team is down 5 ships. Enemy team is only down 4 ships at this point. 2 caps per side. I have a sneaking suspicion that the points are yet again flipped because replay, right? So the green team's points are the enemy team's points. The red team's points are the green team's points. Another beautiful. Didn't catch the damage of that. Should have been another 18-19k salvo to the Vermont there via the Lauria's SAP. Oh, Brennus takes out the Vermont. Look at that. A little bit of payback there. Alright, so Schlieffen. He's coming back in. Kleber burns down the friendly Kremlin. Wow, Kremlin dies to a fire. That's something. Schlieffen's coming back in. Okay, they get very close match so far. Both sides very similar in terms of the ships that are down. Ooh, Schlieffen, beautiful side. He's got the AP loaded. Look at that, a man of culture. Swapping to AP in his Italian battleship, battlecruiser. Gets only one pin though and 2 overpins. See, again, unless you're sure you can get citadels, I really would keep SAP loaded. I mean, granted, you know, again, a broadside Schlieffen from like 13 kilometers away. Obviously, that's something like, okay, I can probably citadel him, right? So I'm not, you know, dogging on Waffle for that. I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's why you tend to keep SAP loaded unless you are assured that you can get a citadel there. But again, I totally agree. You know, I probably would have swapped to AP there too. Look, AP there to the superstructure, into the face of the Schlieffen. 16k damage, loading up his sap shells. Oh, he's just now getting touched by the enemy team. His adrenaline rush just popping off there. Man, look at the secondary stream from the Schlieffen. Now, people say that the Libertad's creating secondaries, which it does, but like the Schlieffen, man, it's just got him going constantly. Boom! There we go. Dead Schlieffen there for his second kill of the match, up to 165,000 damage already. But yeah, like the Schlieffen, you know, you have smaller secondaries, they're firing more often, so I believe without the F button, should have waited for the Torps. Without the F button, I believe the Schlieffen and the Libertad have actually pretty similar secondary DPM. It's just that the Libertad, you know, has the bigger caliber secondary guns, so you get more alpha like that. Schlieffen makes up for it in just pure DPM, right? Or I should say pure RPM from the smaller caliber secondary guns. But yeah, also, if you sink it... Oh, Zao. Beautiful. That was 20k to the Zao and Confederate right there already with 13 minutes into the match, roughly. Roughly so far. Alright, so again, another great spot that he's in right now. Because the enemy team is pushing to the friendly team. So, you know, they got to go bow in to the Trump and the Gearing and the Bourgogne because of the torpedoes and the shells. So, meanwhile, you know, Waffle's over here draining 18-inch sap into their broadside. So, again, excellent position from Waffle so far. Zhao has caught the hull. It would not surprise me if the hull absolutely murders the Zhao because of Des Moines guns. Ooh, Castilla. Beautiful broadside. Okay, gets the sap out on him too. Getting really good positioning from Waffle. As far as, you know, getting these shots out on these broadside ships. A little bit too little lead, but still chunks him for 18k there because, again, 18-inch sap. My God, it gets high caliber with that salvo too. Broadside Libertad. Alright, so Libertad's at half health, Zhao's at half health, but look at the scoreboard. The enemy teams, they have 3 of the caps. Zhao's contesting the A cap for the time being. But they are 160-ish points ahead as far as points go. So the friendly team really needs to step up the murdering game here. Speaking of murdering, AP out on the Zhao broadside. Should be a dead Zhao, and it is. Wonderful. That is his 3rd kill of the match so far. Alright. Libertad. You know, secondaries are good and all, but they can't shoot what they cannot see. And look at the gearing. Down to 600 HP. Still just absolutely spewing fire from inside his smoke screen, I'm assuming. Unless he's just being Giga Chad and open mortaring, which I doubt. Castilla takes out the friendly Zhao, however. AP out on said Castilla. Pretty good hits there. Knocks out a turret. Got his sap loaded up for the Libertad here. Yeah, I know this Libertad player is absolutely fuming because the secondaries can't do anything. Trump delivering airmail to the Libertad. This should be a good... Yeah, this should be a dead Libertad here. Goodbye, Mr. Libertad. Yeah, that's sap. He is a goner. Goodbye, sir. Trump misses his airstrike, but Waffle does not. 12k to the Libertad to finish him off. 237,000 damage. And just like that, the friendly side has managed to balance the game in terms of ships. However, the Kleber of all ships is capping the B cap. So the situation is that we have a Gearing that's in, you know, the triple digits for HP. We have a Trump that can't really fight a Kleber. So those 2 DDs can't really do too much at the moment. But we still have Waffle here, pretty healthy. Sap out on the Colombo. It's Italian on Italian, meatball on meatball, pasta on pasta violence here as the Lauria takes out the Colombo for a Kraken. Alright, but the enemy team is still winning. They have 4 caps right now, so the friendly side has to sink all these ships or take the caps back in 4 minutes. And we've got a Kleber and a Hull, 2 very tough destroyers left alive. Kleber, oh wait, hold up. Spanish. That's technically Italian on Italian violence too, because that, Castilla is based off of the Napoli. So there we go, 6 kills for Waffle. But 2 DDs left alive. And 4 caps fully in the enemy's grasp. And you have a Burgon way the hell out in the back. You have a Trump who's pretty healthy, but again, he can't really take on a Kleber. I didn't catch the Kleber's. Look to the right. To the right. Waffle, to the right. To the right. I want to see what the Kleber's HP. Okay, Hull's at 3k. Kleber's at 7k. The Gearing's at, triple digit HP. That's he can't do much of anything right now except go for the decap, which he is doing. Good play. The Trump could maybe take on the Kleber if he's at full HP and if he has, some idea of what he's doing. Okay, the Hull goes dark. Doesn't have the best concealment here, so he should be spotted when Waffle comes around this corner, but he does have that improved heal. Hull is completely distracted. Gets absolutely god-slapped by Waffle for his 7th kill of the match. So now we have an even bigger problem. And that, it's still the same problem, a slightly worse problem, but there's still a big problem here, ladies and gentlemen. The Kleber is, I'm pretty sure the fastest destroyer in game. In fact, it should be tied with its sister, the Marceau. Its cousin, I should say, the Marceau. Especially with you build into the speed flag and the engine boost. The Super Caballeros might be faster though, so don't take my word for that. But it's fast, right? It can book it. So the issue is all he really has to do is hold on to 1 cap or maybe 2 caps and run. Because right now, while yes, the Gearing's in D, Waffle's in A, they're merely contesting the cap. The enemy team, as you can see, is still earning points. And the clock is still ticking. So, if this Kleber can run and maybe just hold on to that C cap, he's got it. He's got himself a solo warrior 2 here. 1v4. And the thing is, the Kleber can see all of them, right? Except for the Trump of the Gearing. But the Gearing is not going to go anywhere near him because the Kleber could just murder him. Trump is, I think, still at full HP, so that might be a problem for the Kleber. But the Trump is also trying to take the B cap. He can't leave the B cap until it's capped. And when you're this close on points, you need every cap you can get. Okay, so 2 caps have flipped for the friendly side. You still have the red team earning points for the C cap at 924 points. There goes the Torps for the Kleber. There he is. There he is. The madman 10 kilometers away. Kleber, what is your build? He's full gunboat. Sap out. Kill number 8. It takes him down to, oh no. Albert Burgon with the shot from across the map. Or at least across from the other cap. Oh, that's, wow. Of all the stuff we've seen SAP do today, leaves the Kleber on 500 HP, denies Waffle his rightfully earned 8th kill of the match, or I should say rightfully secured 8th kill of the match. Oh, that was a good match, though. That was a really good match. Kleber, I don't know. What's he doing? I mean, because he obviously had the Lauria Waffle spotted, but he just sat in the cap. I'm pretty sure if he would have ran, he might not have won the match, but it would have been friggin' close. And he certainly could have kept resetting Floppy once he could probably get around that island and just, arc the shells over. Well, he would have to keep him spotted too, so I don't know. But I would, he was doing the right thing by, defending that cap, but you definitely want to preserve your life when you're that low in a ship that doesn't have that heal. So, but either way, fantastic game. Waffle, thanks for sending it in. 1.8 million credits earned, 271,000 damage done, 7 kills, Kraken, Confederate, high caliber, you abuse the hell out of SAP, 2,900 base XP. Man, and again, just a good game all around. Bully the Castilla for 54,000 damage, Colombo, Schlieffen, let's see. 224,000 damage of this game was, from purely SAP shells. I like how he's a little under half the amount of AP shells fired. AP shells hit, and yet he's at like a fourth of the damage because again, SAP is such a wonderfully balanced munition type there. But yes, sir, thank you for sending that in, Floppy. That was an excellent game. So if you have a replay like this that's just, a good match or something crazy happens, something funny happens in it, please feel free to send it into the email linked in the description down below or in the Discord channel on the community Discord server, which link to that is also in the description down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday, wonderful rest of your weekend and your next week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.